Hi guys, and welcome to the Paper Talk. I hope you're having a good morning, wherever you are. Do us a favour, put on the little comment thing, comment where you are, what you're doing today. Get some good vibes going. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe and like the video. We've done really well recently. We've just jumped from 10k to 13k in the space of a few days. So we'd like to keep that going, keep that momentum going. And so, yeah, let's get into it. And the first news is, as it has been really for the past week, it's been all about Maguire. You can't move for stuff about Maguire. And the latest batch of rumours is coming after Bleacher Report's Dean Jones, The Express and The Sun have once again sort of started the rumour that a deal has been agreed for £80 million. Now, I really hope that is the case. And I imagine that if we have agreed a deal, it would be very similar to the one that was being sort of rumoured about before, whereas we pay a bit, like 60 million and then 20 million pound in add-ons. I think probably what the situation is they're probably going to pay 80 million flat, because this whole thing, the whole deal with Leicester and Maguire, is that Leicester want to be able to say we have sold the world's best defender, i.e. we have sold a defender for the most amount of money. And obviously, like, you have Van Dijk, who went for 75 million, which is actually nonsense because he went for 75 million with 15 million in add-ons. So he went for 90 million. But Leicester want to be able to say we've sold a defender for more money. A sort of just a badge of honour that they can have. And so I'm not sure if this is correct, though, because these were the rumours that were coming out a week ago. And I was fully on board with them before. I was convinced that by the end of last week, what we'd have seen is that we'd have seen unofficial, like, proof that Maguire was going to be a United player, like we saw with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, where we saw the photos come out of him in a United kit ages before it was actually announced. I'm also not fully convinced about the rumours that the deal is done, considering that there are rumours coming out from other places that Man City is still very interested. This is particularly from the Daily Mail today, who say that Pep Guardiola is really interested in getting hold of Maguire as a replacement for Company and the likes of that, because they have obviously lots of quality centre-backs, but they haven't really looked for one in the market yet, probably because they want Maguire. However, the issue is that Man City have been under a lot of fire recently for violating financial fair play rules, something that they haven't seemed to care about up until now. But because of that, they have to try and stick to them at the moment. Otherwise, they could see themselves next year sort of being banned from Europe again. And so in order to do that, they need to sell the deadwood centre-backs of Otamendi and Mangala to fund a move for Maguire legitimately. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. I think Leicester are probably going to now use these new rumours about the Man City stuff to try and push the price up even higher. And I think that if we do get Maguire, it will end up being for around 85 to 90 million, but that would be like with add-ons. So we might pay 80 million, then 15 million pounds in add-ons. And I think that Leicester, even if a deal was done, Leicester are going to be holding out. And I think Leicester have really held out for all of these negotiations to constantly push the price up, to constantly put United's back against the wall and force them to pay even more than they're already going to. Something else about Maguire is that Dean Saunders on TalkSport was basically talking about the idea that we shouldn't be going for 80 million for Maguire. That was unnecessarily large amount of money, and that we should be focusing on the release clause for like Alderweireld for 25 million. I think this shows you, right, that in the mainstream media there's a lot of ignorance, because what United actually need is a aerial winning, commanding centre-back. We have a ball-playing centre-back in the form of Lindelof, who's very good at it and getting better. We also have another version of that in the form of Transabi, who I'm so excited to see come into the first team. So with that in mind, what we need is somebody who wins headers, and nobody does that better than Maguire. Nobody dominates a back four better than Maguire, apart from a few people who I won't name. So yeah, I think if we end up paying 80 million for Maguire, I think that's a good deal, because I don't think there's many centre-backs right now who can do what he does as well that are available to us, because Koulibaly has no interest in coming. De Ligt's obviously gone. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. Now we're going to move on to the rumours about Nicolas Pepe coming in and Lukaku leaving, which are hotting up really recently. Duncan Castles and The Times have said that United are in pole position and in advanced talks for Nicolas Pepe, and that this deal is going to be funded by the sale of Lukaku. So that sort of gives us a few elements to this story that we can sort of unpack and try and figure out what's going on. So firstly, we need to take some of these rumours with a pinch of salt. Pepe is linked to a lot of teams, Liverpool not least among them. And so we're in a situation where we're going to be pushed to pay a high price of around £70 million Lille want. So that's going to be an issue, I think. And also, Duncan Castles last week said that on Monday, within 48 hours, Maguire was going to have had his medical at United. Well, that definitely didn't happen. And either he was told that it was going to happen by reliable sources, and then something happened which meant that it didn't materialise, or his sources are bogus, and we need to take everything he says for a while with a pinch of salt, because he's been normally a very traditional sort of like reliable individual to trust on. So the money that we have for him isn't going to be an issue. We're well within financial fair play. We have the money. So the money isn't going to be an issue, as it is with most signings. The real issue is going to be Inter Milan, their ability to buy Lukaku, because we're not going to buy Pepe before we sell Lukaku. And this is where there's a lot to unpack, because there have been lots of rumours going around that we've rejected a 60 million bid. From what The Guardian and The Times and stuff are saying, we've rejected a 54 million pound bid, which is nowhere near our valuation, which is reported around to be 70 to 80 million, which is right, because he's worth that. He might not have been playing fully all the time like that for us, but he's definitely worth that amount of money. Now, what becomes clear in the way that Inter Milan have given the offers is that they can't afford to pay for him. They are giving offers that are staged payments over 3 years, over 4 years. There was one where they wanted to take him on loan for 3 years with £10 million up front and then £20 million the next year and £20 million the next year. We can't do that. Like, we have no reason to do that. We have no reason to not demand the money straight away, as most football transfers are done. The reason why Milan are doing this is because they can't afford him. There's lots of serious reports coming from The Times, The Guardian, The Sun, saying that Inter Milan just do not have the money for him. And therefore, if the Lukaku deal goes through, which is the Pepe deal being reliant on that, really, they're going to need to sell the sort of trio of players that Conte says he doesn't like for one reason or another. That's two of the main ones, really, are Nainggolan and Perisic, who he said don't tactically suit the club and whose careers at the club have ended. Now, if I know Roma are interested in Nainggolan, I know that Chinese clubs are interested in Nainggolan. So we have to wait for him to be sold, maybe even Perisic to be sold, for Inter Milan to put in a genuine, serious offer, and maybe then we'll be in a situation where Lukaku can go, and maybe then Pepe come in. But I'm not sure whether Pepe will wait that long. If he's got offers from Liverpool, like, why would you come to United maybe at the end of the transfer window if you've got a chance to go to Liverpool? Unfortunately, that's the situation in the transfer market right now, which means we're probably going to end up either having to pay through the roof for him, pay him a lot of money, or we're going to have to try and convince him that being part of a rebuilding project is much more advantageous. There's also a debate, I think, about whether we need Pepe. Say we sell Lukaku. That leaves us with, up front, as a forward, Rashford, Martial, Lukaku, James, and Greenwood. Now, I don't want to see the game time that Greenwood gets limited by having Nicolas Pepe in the squad. And I'm not sure whether that would happen. I've seen a lot of people saying that we don't need this, we don't need an extra player in there. We already have players who play like him. Not quite. Martial and Rashford are, in my opinion, really strikers who have been turned into wingers pretty much because they're fast. That's it. Pepe is a winger, first and foremost, not a striker. He is a winger. And that's what I think we need at the squad. That's why the purchase of Daniel James was a sensible decision. Daniel James might take a couple of years to mature to a world-class level, but it was a sensible decision because we needed a winger. It was a good winger on the cheap who was going to develop very, very well. Pepe, in a similar vein, would be a more complete package. He would be a winger who's able to run down the wings powerfully, get crosses in, something that we don't have right now. That would leave Rashford, Martial to alternate between being on the right or being up front. It would leave time for Greenwood to come on as a striker, which is what he is, or playing on the right, which we've seen him do. And along with James, who would be a rotational winger, I think that's a sort of attacking group that's very dangerous, that all play in the style of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think he'd be a sensible decision to go and get him. So what do you guys think? Do you think that we're going to need Pepe, or do you think that we've already got so many attacking players, even if we sell Lukaku, that he's going to be completely irrelevant? Finally, moving on to the stuff about Gareth Bale. Just to touch on it, really. So Zidane's been pretty ridiculous, to be fair, about how open he is about the fact that he wants to push Bale out, and that Bale is on the way out. He says, we hope he leaves. It would be best for everyone. And I think the way that they're being treated is pretty disrespectful to somebody who's got some of the best stats out there, and on his day is truly world class. But so United have always been linked with Bale ever since the last summer transfer window, straight through the year, even to now, you've got people like The Sun reporting that Solskjaer's being sort of not pressured, but promoted. Solskjaer has got sources promoting purchasing Bale. Although it looks pretty clear, like The Sun are reporting that it's pretty obvious that he's going to be going to China for a reported £1 million a week. So there's not even any point competing in there. But at the beginning of the transfer window, especially, that there were a lot of rumours about us maybe getting him on loan and going forward from that. Now, I don't think it would be worth it until we get rid of the sort of the wage slump of Sanchez, because then we'd free up some space and some funds. And maybe, having Bale just there, he's a low risk if we brought him in on loan, because nobody, we don't have to pay a fee. We can let him go at the end of his loan if he hasn't been good. We have the money, let's be real. So why wouldn't you bring in a world-class player or somebody who can become world-class again, just to add something else to the attacking lineup? I think my only hesitance towards it would be, again, the idea of limiting the time of Greenwood and James, two players who need to develop another future. Whereas Gareth Bale, if he even played well, which is not guaranteed, would be a sort of short-term replacement. So I think there's an interesting debate there to be had about whether Bale would be a good fit for United or not. So I just want to get an idea of what you guys are thinking about that. So get tweeting us, get commenting us. Thanks a lot for coming here, watching the Paper Talk. I look forward to seeing you again, and thanks.